Hello, class. I was thinking about the iLab for this week and just taking a look at it again. Um, Although I don't think it's like a hugely difficult project, I just wanted to give you a little refresher on building up a web design template similar to this. Now, I'm not going to really do any colors or graphics or anything like that, but I would like to give you a little help as to how to make the template and how to make it appropriately. Because I'm sure you can make this pretty easily. A lot of you wouldn't have too much difficulty with that. Although I feel like this sidebar where it just stops dead right there isn't the best practice all the time, and maybe you want it to go, 100% in the height so it matches with the header and the footer and things like that. This is kind of like what would be created if you used the built-in Dreamweaver templates, and you could tell I think that's what they did because of the font choices. That's what you get when you do, you create from template in Dreamweaver. That's not what I'm looking for. I want you to create your own thing. Um, so I'm gonna go off this main idea where we have the separate divs and all that fun stuff. And what you're gonna do is if you make the container's background color, the ID container's background color, the same or the make that color what you want the sidebar color to be, then you can just change the header, the content, and the footer color, so that way it looks like the sidebar is 100% height when it's actually not. That's the trick there. These numbers are pretty standard, so let's get to it. I'm not gonna go crazy with this. It's just a short video. Watch it if you want. If you think you need the help, you can rewind, fast forward, whatever. I would definitely recommend watching this in HD or the highest quality that YouTube's going to let you watch it. I think by default it comes up as like 320 or 360 or something. You want to at least move up to 380 I mean 480 if it gives you that option. Just check the settings on YouTube to make sure you're watching at the highest quality so you can see what's going on. Okay, so I'm in our favorite program ever. So let's get into Dreamweaver. I'm going to create a new HTML file. Make sure my screen recorder is still recording here. Look, I thought I hit it for a second. Okay, forget that stupid design view. I'm not going to get anything here. I just want straight up template here. Now I'm not going to use a CSS document for this. You should, but I'm just doing it in the head to make our lives a little bit easier. And I'll just call this example template. Sounds like my neighbors are nailing something into the wall upstairs. Apartment living is not fun. I'm out of here soon. Okay, so just setting up the page, getting ready for the styles and everything like that. Okay, so we're going to need an entire series of divs. So I'm going to make a container. And remember, it's always good to, comment where things are closing. And I'll pause here so you can just come back and see what I've done. And we're back. Okay, so what I just did was, while we were all on break there, is I made a container. So we've got the whole container here. Inside the container, I've got a number of divs. I've got a header, followed by a sidebar, our sidebar for the right sidebar. I have a main content div, and then I have a footer div. Okay, so if you need to, I would just pause on this if you wanna follow along with me. You can do that. This is something I would have liked to have done. If we had a second day in class, we could have covered this together. It's repetitive. It's practice. It's nothing new, but judging by the feeling of the class, I felt like maybe some of you weren't 100% comfortable. I haven't actually saved this yet, so I'm just gonna slap this on my desktop and call it template example. Yeah, that HTML. Okay, so there we go. And then in the head, I just set up all the CSS, so it's like ready to go. I've got everything here. I don't have the body or HTML tag, which I would normally have as well. That's a good point. I'll throw in body. Okay, so just to take a look, let's see what this is going to look like in my browser. Okay, so this is my website. Okay, super. So let's start CSSing it up. I'm going to give the container a background color. So let's say I'm not really considering how this is gonna look. I'm just thinking about organization purposes. So okay, maroon, beautiful. The header will also give a background color. I think this is a really great way to, determine, if it's, why can't I speak? A great way to determine size and location. Everything is with colors. I mean, why not? So I picked a couple dark colors, so you see how things are starting to shape up here. So I gave the container, the whole wrapper of the page, a maroon color because that's what I want my sidebar to be. Okay, the header I just gave an arbitrary dark blue, like a navy blue. I'll do the same for the footer so that they match. The main content, I'll give that a background color of white, just so we can tell that that's going to be white. The sidebar, it really doesn't matter, but you want to do the same as the container. Because remember, what's going on here is you want the sidebar. Ooh. What did I do there? Main content should have black text. Main content area. Sidebar, white. Oh, maybe I did something funny there. There we go. Okay, so that's yeah, that's it. All right. So I just messed with some colors. So going from top down, and I'll throw a background color on the page too, just so we can see what's going on there. A little gray. All right. Okay, I just paused for a second because I had a little bit of a glitch. I made the stupid mistake of putting a hashtag in front of body. It's not supposed to be there. A little bit of a, I guess you can call it a brain fart. Anyway, so this is what it's supposed to look like. Also, you don't need to put the color in container. I don't know why I did that. That would have set the color for the entire page. That should have just been on the sidebar. So go from the top to the bottom. I set the background color of the entire page to gray. Gray. The container is that maroon, which you will only see right now in the sidebar. The header is the blue with the white text, and the same goes for the footer. The sidebar, again, is the maroon with the white text. The main content area, right here, is white background, black text, nice and clean and easy, and the footer was the same as the header. So that's what I've got going on right now. Let's talk about size. I want our container to have a width, a width of our old friend 960, but I might want some padding in there, but we'll do 960 right now. I like to just put in the numbers that I want and then work off of that later. So we're going to say margin 0 space auto because I like a nice center on it. There we go. Starting to look like a flag, a little weird looking. I'm also going to throw a margin 0 on the body. That way it tucks up nicely to the top of the page, which is super. Now you'd probably want to give everything their own padding if you want to keep consistent, like padding 10 px in the header, and then you want to do the same. See, now it gets a little better spacing. I like to just kind of throw that throughout, and then you can have a nice consistency going on. So nice spacing there. So everything will be nice and laid out. Now we need to get this sidebar to the right, over to here, and keep the content to the left and the footer at the bottom. So, how are we doing on time? Perfect on time. So where am I going? Our sidebar. We want it on the right, so we give it an old float to the right. Boom, floating to the right. Beautiful, right over there. Not perfect by any means, but we'll fix it up. So I believe your lab, where are we? National Defense, there we go. They wanted the sidebar to be 230, the header to be 100 in height, so let's do it. So the sidebar width is going to be actually 210 because I put in the 10 pixels of padding, which is actually 20 on each side, giving it a total of 230. I don't care if that's what you do or not, as long as it doesn't flow outside the page, but it's getting the rough size that you need. It's a small sidebar. I mean, if you want to go 230, making a total of 250, again, just do the math. Add it up, so that way you know what's going on properly. Okay? Okay. Now you'll need to give the main content area the remaining size. So, let's break out the old calculator. Get rid of all this. I don't know if you could see my calculator right now while I'm doing this. if you can, super. Our total was 960. Okay, so we're subtracting 230 from the right sidebar, minus 20 pixels of the padding on the left and right of that, minus 20 more pixels for the main content area. We're left with 690 for the width of the main content area. So we shouldn't even see a difference when we set the width for main content. What was that again? 690 pixels. Okay. What the heck is that thing over there? Huh. Oh, I put 960. Silly me. That's kind of weird. There we go. Okay, probably won't even notice. What else do we want to do? Alright, so, yeah, I mean, that's really it. I mean, once you start putting stuff in, you'll see, like, you need a height, a min height on the header at 100 pixels, which is, like, super easy. There's your header at 100 pixels. That's actually 120 because of the padding. If you put a picture in there, you don't want to use padding because you want it to flush up to the edges. So you just make it as good as possible. Like things like the footer, you might want that text aligned to be center, and you probably want the font to be a little different, or the font size to be a little smaller. Maybe you want that at 10 pixels or something like that, so it's a little small one. Well, 10 pixels, yeah. You know, so it's a little bit of a smaller font or different type of font, whatever. Oh, yeah, here's the thing. When the sidebar gets too big, so let's actually grab some content. So I'm going to go to our good old friend Lipsum, grab some Lipsum here, and pop it into our stuffs, generate some lorem ipsum. I'll grab a couple paragraphs and hit up the design view. No, I'm not going to hit the design view. I'll go into my main content area here, pop those in. Alright, so this is where the design view comes in handy, slapping in some, you know, paragraphs and, you know, whatever you want. Like if I want this guy to be an H2, it's a good opportunity to make an H2 there. Probably put that as a capital P. And then you might want the sidebar also to be, maybe you want that to be an H3. And then we'll throw in some paragraphs on the sidebar as well. Ooh, that's not what I wanted. Let me get back over here. Okay. So this is the issue that I'm trying to illustrate. I'll zoom out a bit. You can see my sidebar tends to have a bit of a spill because the sidebar is now bigger than the content of the main page. So what you need to do is get it back into line with the footer. To do that, you would give the footer's CSS a clear, both. What that does is it tells the footer to ignore any floats before or after it. Since the sidebar is technically before it, it will float to it, and that's why it overlaps. You clear it out, you say, once you hit that footer, forget it. It doesn't have anything to do with floats. This is what you get. Now, that's a bit of a pain, because look what's happening now. Now your main content is not stretching with the sidebar. So you kind of have to have a main, like a minimum height on the main content area to match up with that. There's rarely an occasion where your sidebar will be longer than your main content area, but once you figure out how tall your sidebar is, just give your main content area a minimum height to go along with it, and you're okay. It's always like a battle going back and forth, which one's going to be, you know, expanding. You want them both to expand. So that's where there's an issue. So right now it's this one that is expanding and not this one, instead of vice versa. So I'm just going to go in there and you know, figure out my main content area and slap that a min height. So that way it's always longer than my sidebar. So 600 wasn't enough because I made a really long sidebar. And there you go. Okay. And you should be good. So this is like your minimum height. As this text grows, everything else should grow with it. I've got 10 seconds, so I'm going to pause. So last second illustrations here, you see that the page has grown. Okay, so that's about it. Good luck. See you Monday.